Everyone is talking about getting to gigabit speeds. It seems to be the real catchphrase at the moment. And while absolutely everyone in the ecosystem, from device vendors through to infrastructure vendors, everyone is trying to get to a gigabit as fast as they possibly can. The reality is that across all the different technology memes of coax, fibre, copper and wireless, they're all going to arrive at gigabit at very different times. And as an operator, your job is to really deliver a consistent service across all your different technology types. So you're going to be arriving at a gigabit per second at different times depending on where you live in the network footprint. So our view on the gigabit is, sure, get to gigabit, aim at getting there as soon as you possibly can, but in the meantime, it's really necessary that you make the most out of the infrastructure and the investment that you've already made. So in Australia, you've got a very unique environment, really, where you've got the political party has invoked a scheme to roll out broadband to consumers and businesses across Australia. And they've created an entity called the NBN, called the National Broadband Network, and they are tasked with rolling out broadband to every building or every premise in Australia. Because of this massive public funding that's gone on, the ACCC, which is the Australian Consumer and Competition Commission, has taken a really strong interest in making sure that it's being done in a really sensible and open way. And consequently in Australia, you've got this environment where I believe that this is really the sign of the future. This is the way in many countries it's going to end up. And just last week, the ACCC released a paper on how they think broadband should be promoted and sold to consumers in Australia. And there's really 5 or 6 guiding principles that they've stipulated must be followed. And they are that you need to really concentrate on promoting accurate speed numbers to your customers. This is download speeds and upload speeds, your performance throughput. And you must disclose your speeds not based on what is theoretically possible, but what is realistically going to be achieved for you as the consumer. So things like, what are the speeds you're going to receive during the busy period? That's really important. What is the real performance? Not what is the theoretical maximum, but what is the real performance you're going to achieve? Any sort of performance metrics that allow you to be compared to the next operator or the next service provider, you must be able to release your speeds in a way that the numbers can be easily compared with the next service provider. And lastly, and very importantly, the service that you promote as a service provider must be able to be remotely diagnosed, and if there's any problems, they must be remotely be attended to and fixed. So really it comes down to 2 things. One is the quality of the equipment. It is, as I said before, very much like a piece of network infrastructure. That brings with it a lot of reliability constraints. It needs to have a certain level of uptime. It needs to last a certain number of years. Often our equipment lives in a pit or lives in a telegraph pole, so it's subjected to the elements and rain and weather. It needs to be hardened against all of that. So one of the design things that we bring is just around reliability of connection. That's point 1. Point 2 is about how it acts on the network. It's no longer a piece of equipment that you send out and it does what it does. It's part of the network, so things like real-time diagnostics, quality of service, prioritization of traffic, and software features that bind it into an operator's back-end system, very much like a piece of infrastructure equipment. That's what you get with a piece of Netcom CPE. So by having that at the customer's premises or maybe out on the driveway or on the telegraph pole in front of the house, you then have your network presence extending all the way through to the customer's house. And that's very powerful because there's a concept of the trusted zone that many operators think about, which is around how far do I trust the network? Where's my point of demarcation, if you like? Where do we stop and where is it best efforts after that? We have a bunch of technology building blocks already developed here at Netcom. We specialise in a number of different focus areas. We have fibre to distribution point, which involves GPON, VDSL, G.fast. We have wireless, which is 4G, 4.5G. We're already researching devices for 5G, and we also have some DOCSIS 3.1. So these technology building blocks are great. There's technology there that people can use, but what we aren't about is taking that, putting a brick around it and saying, there's your device, go and use it. What we want to do is get these technology building blocks working and then tailor them for the customer, for the operator. Then you've got the software side. The software needs to integrate with infrastructure services. There might be remote management services. There might be OAM Y1731 diagnostic services. These are the sort of things that have to tie with whatever services the operator is running. So we have to tailor our device a lot to make it match the operator's use case. If you're an operator, you want to get as many customers as you can. The way of the world, as dictated by what the ACCC is doing, they are asking for clear transparency through to customers with known performance limits. So if you want to, as an operator, do that, and my advice to any operator would be, well, that's the way you have to do it in the future, is you need to take ownership of the delivery of broadband all the way to the customer's premises, as close as you can get. Because if you do that, then you will be able to differentiate your service from the competition.